Do you ever wonder how people create engaged communities? How does that happen? What's the vibe? What's the energy? Yeah, we all want to know that. And I want you to know that because it is fun to have a community. And it's just great to be surrounded by people that you love and people that are into the same thing as you. So, in today's episode, we are going to tap into the energy of an engaged community. How is that created? What vibe actually attracts that? And how can we center ourselves into a place where we're actually bringing in a beautiful, engaged community that just makes our work even more exciting and even more fulfilling? So, let's get into today's episode. All right, so I have 7 messages about engaged community. And the first one is probably not going to surprise you, didn't surprise me at all. And it's a party. An engaged community is a party. Like, it really is this feeling of I'm gathering people together to talk about something that I love. And I'm not even thinking about myself as like the leader or the star, or there's really not an emphasis on me. There's more an emphasis on whatever it is that I'm talking about. Actually reminds me of almost like a Tupperware party. Like, I'm inviting people because I'm so excited about this Tupperware. Like, I want you to check it out and I want you to come over. So, and then like accidentally I sell it to you. That's about, and I know, listen, I remember when Benny's sister got into, I think it was Mary Kay, and she was like inviting us over for a party of Mary Kay, and I was like, no, thank you. But I'm sure her vibe was off, right? Like the vibe must have been like, oh, I need to sell this thing rather than, oh, I'm so excited about these products. So it is this feeling of like we're gathering around something that I'm very passionate about, that I'm excited about, and I want you to know about it, right? In my group chat right now, a few weeks ago, I was like asking friends if they had any like lip glosses that they liked that were like kind of plumping their lips, because I'm trying to avoid filler, guys. I am absolutely going to avoid lip filler. It's like something that I never say never, but I would be very surprised if I went down that road, and nothing against it. It just, I could tell it wouldn't like look good on me. So I'm trying to find lip glosses, and one of my girlfriends who's like really into makeup, she threw in a lip gloss. It's amazing, by the way. And now all my other friends are like, oh my gosh, like I want to know about this one. And like this friend knows a lot about makeup, and she even knows like how to put on makeup and stuff. And we're asking her if we could get together and she could show us like all the makeup that she likes and put it on, right? So, and of course, if she was selling it, we would probably buy it from her. But it's like we are gathering around something that we are excited about. And this friend might just happen to be a little bit of the host or a little bit of the point of I don't even want to say the star, but she's just kind of the class president, or the club president here, and we're gathering around her, but we're really gathering around something that we all enjoy and love. So I think what I got from here was, think about how you can bring more gatherings and parties to your business. And I mean, that can be literal, right? Like you can create a gathering like, hey guys, we're getting together to make manifestation boards. Like, I'm going to host it at my house. I'm inviting 20 people. Like, obviously that's like a literal way of understanding it. But it also makes me feel like if there is maybe a service or a product that you're selling and you're selling it online, and it's like, how do we get people excited for this party? And maybe it's like getting people excited to meet me on Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Instagram Live, because I'm going to show you all these products that I'm so excited about. And maybe it's like 7 days of, gifting before I get to that 7th day where we all gather together. And maybe like every day I'm giving away something for free so that we can get excited about getting there on the 7th day. And it's just a little bit like of a party. It's like you're getting excited for that trip that you're going on with your girlfriends, or you're getting excited about that event that you're hosting with your girlfriend. That's the vibe. It's a party vibe. If you don't like parties, then you're probably not going to like a community. So, but that really is the vibe, and that's what attracts people. I just told you it's a party vibe, and obviously, and even community and party is multiple people. Parties are not fun if there's only one person, right? I remember I was throwing my brother a 21st surprise birthday party, and I had this boyfriend at the time who was just like a Debbie Downer. He would just like rain on all my parades type of vibe. Imagine me now, but like 19, like I did not know that the world could let you down, or I did not know like things that you wanted weren't possible. Like I just kind of like moved forward on everything because I thought like, yeah, of course everything's gonna work out. Like that was the vibe. So I was putting together this surprise birthday party for my brother, and the boyfriend at the time, he's like, what if nobody comes? I'm like, what? I never even imagined that. I was like, of course people are gonna come. They love my brother. Like people love parties. Like, this is like an exciting thing. So in a way, I had already sold myself on the concept of like why this was a great thing, why this was a great party. And I think that vibe in itself is also like what attracts people to you and to the party, right? So I didn't, or if he would have thrown the party, yeah, maybe nobody would have come because he hadn't sold himself on the product or the service, like he hadn't sold himself on like, oh, my brother's a cool guy, people like him, or like people are, kids that are in their 20s, like love to go to parties where there's free drinks. Like, of course they're going to come or whatever. And I had already held all that. I did not know. There wasn't a place in my mind that thought it wouldn't be successful because I was sold on the concept, if that makes sense. So yeah, like I think that when you're gathering the people, you have to check in with yourself first to see how much do you believe in the thing you're gathering people around. And even if that means that you might have to take a little bit of time to get yourself on board, to be like, okay, why is this a great product? Why is this a great service? Like, why is maybe even the person that's throwing it, right? Like in my case, I was like throwing this party for my brother. So part of the sell was like, I know my brother's a great guy. People really like him. This is what's great about him. And obviously that's easier than trying to like get myself excited about myself. But if you can see yourself from afar, you can be like, oh yeah, I can see why people would like Christina. Like Christina's fun. She's educated on this topic or whatever. And you have to kind of sell yourself on the party itself. Message number 2 is interesting because we just talked about party, group, people coming together, all of that. But I felt that an engaged community actually also comes from the host's ability to, at the same time, make the individual feel like she is talking directly to them. So, of course, the individual knows that there's several other people invited to this party, but somehow the way that the host invited the individual makes the individual feel like she is being talked to directly, which we see this in business, right? If you guys look at my reviews on the podcast, which I'm so grateful for, you guys, thank you so much for, like, I see that they come in every once in a while, and it's just, I'm like very, very grateful for that. But a lot of people, what they say in the reviews is like, it's so weird. It sounds like she's talking directly to me. That message was just for me. And obviously like, my audience is very smart and is like, I get it. I know you're talking to a lot of people, but it does feel like you're talking directly to me. And that is like the gift of the host. And that comes from, again, like if we're all gathering around that lip gloss, like I was telling you, there's something about all of us that connects us, that we are in the same place, that we're interested in this lip gloss. This lip gloss that I was talking to you about, it's about like lip plumping. So obviously my girlfriends were all 42 plus. So there's something about like being 42 and wanting to still be beautiful. And, there's things that we all have in common. We all have kids. We all are like, love beautiful things, but also maybe want to be more natural and but still want to remain beautiful, like all these things, right? So I, as a host, can talk to like one of the girls in that group, and everybody in that group is going to feel like they're being spoken to, because everybody in that group, although they are all different, there's going to be this part of them that overlaps with everybody else in the group. So like, let's say that I'm talking to a 25% of a person. Everybody has that same 25. Of course, the 75 of them is going to be different, and it's going to vary depending on, who I'm talking to in the group. But I can stick to talking to just the 25%, and that 25% is like where everybody overlaps, and that's why it feels like you're talking just to them. So there's something about the host being able to hold both the bigness of the community, but also make the individual feel special. And I think that there's like a lot of different ways in which we do that. Obviously, one that comes to mind is like the marketing, right? So like when you're writing to them, or you just like know you just like know the client very well, so you're writing to them, maybe you're making content like that really speaks to them. But it also makes me feel like, taking time to like respond to a comment, respond to a DM. If somebody like sends you an email or whatever, that you're able to respond, or at least that there's somebody like on your team responding. So I think there's a lot of ways to like make the individual feel special. Maybe if you're selling, let's say, like online programs, I don't have a system for this yet, but I definitely want to create a system. But like sometimes when I see people purchase my online programs, I get so excited, and I just happen to see it in my email, and I respond to like their purchase, and I'm like, I'm so excited to have you. Obviously, I don't do that for everybody because I'm kind of like doing it in the moment when it shows up. But like ultimately, I'm sure there's a way for me to create a system in my business where everybody gets a note like that from me, And that's a way to feel special. Like, yes, we know that Nikki has like a bunch of people that sign up and there's a community there, but she does still take the time to like respond in that way, within her own boundaries. So there's something about the host being able to talk to one person. I think another way is like, maybe when you're talking into the camera, or you are speaking into your podcast, or you're making the content, you're not thinking about the 1,000 people that are following you on Instagram. You're maybe thinking about like one person that who's your customer, and you are opening that camera, like looking into the lens and just talking to her. That is how that community is built. So I thought that was interesting. That was one of the vibes. Okay, message number 3, or vibe number 3. I talked about this a little bit in first message, where there's a host throwing a party and like you are the host. And then I shared that story about this ex-boyfriend of mine who like would have been a horrible host because he was nervous about people showing up. I was getting that like the host, so which is us, right? Like we are the host of these parties around the things that we're excited about, whether it's a tablecloth that we're selling or an online program that we're selling. Like we're trying to get people excited about this thing that we are excited about. The host has this groundedness of accepting this position, and it is, I've talked about this in other episodes, but it's like a responsibility and just a knowing that like I am the club president, and like I accept that. And sometimes it's a very dirty job, like sometimes being club president means that everybody leaves the club meeting and I'm picking trash up at the end of the meeting. It might mean that like when everybody's out or sleeping in on a Saturday morning, I'm up on a Saturday and like planning the next meeting, right? Like there's an acceptance of the fullness of that role. And I guess like accepting the fullness of the role creates like this humility of knowing that like, yeah, there are some moments as a host that you're the star. Maybe at the beginning of the meeting, I get to stand up in front of the class and like tell people a story or something. All eyes on me. Awesome. But that is a small part of the job, right? Like sometimes the job means Saturday mornings. Sometimes the job means picking up the trash after school, or, whatever, after the meeting. And the host really like accepts the fullness, and there's like a maturity of understanding that, yeah, there's this perk of people seeing me and people like having eyes on me, but I have taken on the full responsibility of being in charge of this group. It's something that I think about maybe when they're not thinking about it. I'm organizing things. I am in charge of making money so that like I can pay other people to help me organize this community, basically. So there's a responsibility that comes with it. So it's almost like it's the true queen energy of like, I am the queen, I'm like visioning this, but I'm also like a servant to the people, I'm not going to serve in a Cinderella way where I have no boundaries and people are taking advantage of me and I'm like seeing myself as like help or something like that. It's not that vibe of being like a servant to a people. It's being a leader who is in service to and understanding the good and the bad that come with that position and fully accepting it and sitting in it. So I was tapping into a few people that had like really engaged, beautiful communities, and I was getting that these hosts, there's no doubt about it too. Like they're not sitting around being like, am I a narcissist for wanting this? Like, should I say it this way? Should I say it that way? Like they really just have fully accepted that God has called them to this position, that they've been like anointed to this position. I been watching this show lately called Catherine the Great. It's on Hulu. It's about Catherine the Great. I guess she was the Empress of Russia. And they say it's like not a full true story, but it's very entertaining. And her husband in is it Peter the Great, I think? I forgot his name. And he is like this really funny character, and he's like a big narcissist. And his, like, I guess back then, I don't know if it's still like that, but there was this belief that like God would anoint the emperor, and like he was born into the lineage and that God had chosen him. So he kind of like showed up to his position. He was a huge narcissist, and he was like, well, God chose me for this job, like that's why I rule the way that I rule. Like, I'm not going to doubt what God says. And obviously this is the extreme of that knowing, but from a very balanced place, that seems to be what these hostess with these communities, what they're feeling. They're like, God has put me in this position. Like, I accept, like I have been asked. And most people might not know the difficulties of this position. They may only see the fun parts or like the glamorous parts, but it's a full position. And I don't need like people to feel bad for me for the other parts of position. It's just part of the job. And I'm like fully, comfortable and really grounded in knowing that this is my role. So it's an acceptance of the role, and there's just a lack of doubt. Like, I just see their mind of this person having none of this doubt about whether or not they are fit to lead. It's almost like they kind of know that becoming a leader is it's a process, and that they feel confident that like whatever comes their way, they will be able to work through it, but they accept that they are a leader. And maybe in the beginning of their journey, they're a baby leader, and now maybe 10 years in, they're a much more comfortable leader, but nonetheless, they believe in the growth of the leader, and they know they are a leader. Even if a leader has many different stages, they accept whatever stage they're at in their leadership position, and they're constantly learning to be a better leader. And there is no doubt about whether or not they should be a leader. Message number 4, a ton of gratitude. The host has a lot of gratitude for the community, for the individual person. And this felt to me very heart open. I actually, when I was tapping into this one, my friend Jordan Younger of The Balanced Blonde was the one that was coming forward for me. She is so great with her community. And when I was tapping into this, I was like, oh, there's a lot of heart in this person. There's a lot of gratitude for the like individual within the community. And I had this vision of like Jordan responding to the DMs that she gets, and not responding to them mechanically, but really being like, oh my gosh, Susie, who just sent me a heart, like, thank you. I'm so happy God created you. Like, I'm so happy you exist. That really like looks like what the vibe was. It's this vibe of like, I'm so happy you're here. So imagine you're throwing the party, and sure, there's 100 people at your party, but every person that walks through the door, you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you made that. Like, really making that person know that their presence matters. And there's a ton of gratitude for the person, for both the individual, but then also the group at the same time. So I think drumming up some gratitude of, even if your community is 5 people right now, even if your community is your dog and your husband, right? Whatever that community is right now, like really feeling that gratitude within the heart for each member, and then also the group, and letting it grow. Also sitting in meditation and putting your timer for 10 minutes, being like, okay, I'm going to do 10 minutes of gratitude for my community. So closing your eyes, feeling into your heart, even if there is no community yet, feeling into the heart and really letting that heart open and expand to the people that you're so grateful that they are here, and you're so grateful that we are connected amongst this one thing that we all have in common. And I'm just so happy that we're gathering, and I'm so happy you exist. And then also, of course, like on a day-to-day, that is seen through maybe when you are responding a DM or a customer service question, or even let's say like a podcast review that, and unfortunately with a podcast review, I can't like write back or let people know that I'm grateful, but I can sit in gratitude and send a lot of love to that person that sent me, and just say, I'm so happy you're here. Like, and really feel it. Like, I'm so grateful that God made you. Like, that's how deep the gratitude is. I'm so happy you're here. And that is just so much love. It's kind of the way that we look at our kids sometimes. My son, they're so cute when they're sleeping, right? But then they wake up and they're like the crazy children. You're like, wait, you were just so much cuter when you were sleeping. When my youngest was sleeping, he wouldn't wake up. His little soft face. And, I just had that mother love. And I was like, I am just so grateful that you are here, that you're with me, that you're mine, that, you're part of my family, that we're together. Just, I'm so grateful that you exist. That really was the gratitude for him. And that seems to be the gratitude for these communities. And that love just creates a bond, truly. Because I think a lot of the times, funny enough, people that are happy to be in an engaged community, they are looking at the host and saying the same thing. They're like, oh my God, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy that you were brave enough to do the work that you're doing, that you made these plates that are so beautiful that I wanted. You made this piece of furniture, you made this program, you made this podcast. Like, I am so grateful that you made what was within you because I am benefiting so much. So that gratitude between both the host and the guest, because there is a mutual exchange, is what creates the bond and what creates more love, and then actually like what multiplies the love and brings in more people. Message number 5, and this may be a little difficult for some of us, especially those of us who are afraid of being narcissist and taking up too much space or being seen too much. This message really was, I was getting that the person receiving, on the receiving end, right? So I'm part of the community and I'm looking at this host that is in charge of this community. That person is asking you to tell them about yourself. Like, they're saying, like, spend time with me. Tell me about your story. Like, tell me about you. Tell me about your story. Tell me how you process things. I want to watch you process. I want to learn from how you do things. So I want to observe you, which means that I need time with you. So that means like I do need you to maybe make a 30-minute video, or I do need you to create a vlog about your life. I do need to see you interview your husband and talk to your husband about things that are very intimate. I need to see that. I need to see you and I need to spend time with you, because there is something about like this person watching you as the host and maybe not being in a leadership position in this area just yet. This person may be in a leadership position at their work. They may be in a leader position at their family, right? But whatever it is that you are gathering people around, they are not yet a leader in. And with all respect, right? Like, because you might be like, oh, I'm so impressed by this person. Like, she's killing it at work. She's an amazing mom. And yes, while those things are true, that's the 75%. But the 25%, which is like, I'm interested in this thing that you are much more of a leader in than I am, even if you're younger than me, even if, whatever, even though I'm great in other departments, I'm still learning in this 25%. And I need to spend time with you in order to learn. I need to hear you. I need to see how you process things. I need to learn from how you do things. So not just hearing you talk, but actually like experiencing your life. And that, I think to me, that would be like, I'm showing pieces of my life on stories. I am explaining how I made a decision. I am talking about my failures and how I overcame them. So it is really like, it's not filtered. It's not like you need to make a performance for me, but I need time and really to get to know you. And I think that what that means in business is like you're making basically content, or you are spending time talking to the person so that they can learn and observe. So they want to know about you, and I know that that can be hard. And honestly, they want to know more than you would ever imagine. This is what was so funny to me. Like, you might be like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm gonna give them this. And it feels like what you're going to give them is 15% of like actually what they want. And I know that obviously we do not need to give our community everything they want. We have to have boundaries, and there has to be a compromise between like what we're willing to give and all that. But I just share that knowing that you may feel weird about that 50%. You might feel like embarrassed about sharing that 15%, or like, what's the point of this, right? Like, remember when showing pictures of your food, I remember when that came on the scene, and I was like, really? Do we really want to know about people's food? Or actually, when I worked at Daily Candy, I was an editor there. Some of you, if you're like younger than 38, you probably have never heard of Daily Candy, but it was like a cool thing, guys. And I was an editor in Miami at the time. And we got this email from our headquarters to all the editors, and they were telling us, hey, we need you guys to take a picture of your refrigerator, and we're gonna post it to this page on the website. And I'm like, what? The inside of my refrigerator? And I'm thinking to myself, like, I have kids, like Allie, I already had Allie. I don't think I had Oliver yet. But I just remember being like, are you kidding me? Like, people want to know what's in my fridge? And that's really like the vibe that I get here. And people did want to know what was in my fridge. And actually, when I was looking at all the other editors' fridges, I thought it was super fun. And I learned a lot. I was like, oh, this is actually fun. And that's the equivalent to maybe what it might feel like for you sometimes to be like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to give this 15%. It actually feels like a lot. I don't want to, put too much on their plate, or I don't want to repeat my stories over and over again because, people have already heard them. But again, it feels very little compared to the capacity, the thirst that they have to receive from you. So there is much more that they are open and wanting to learn from you. I would say that, of course, there's always that line of oversharing. And I think the overshare is only when you haven't figured out or you haven't processed this thing yourself. Like perhaps you process it before, you're journaling about something, you process it, you understand it, and then you come and share it. So I think feel into that a little bit so that it doesn't feel like an overshare. It feels more like, no, I'm sharing with you like what my process was. It's not perfect. I'm not saying you should follow it, but I'm just going to show you. And it just seems like the person on the other end has a total thirst for what you happen to already know about or what you have already experienced. So yeah, permission to share, repeat stories, make all the content, do long form, show parts of your life, like permission to show your fridge, to show your food, to show your makeup bag. I remember once Danica, who worked with me, she was always like, why don't you show like your makeup routine? I'm like, absolutely not. It's like, why would I do that? But it's really comes from that place of like, we are interested, we are curious. And sometimes it's even the things that don't even really go along with what you do, but there's this wanting to know you. There's a wanting to connect and spend time with you and know you. And that's really what this message is about. Message number 6, a little different than 5, but kind of similar. The host is making time to converse with me. So not just like showing and maybe like letting people into my life, which I feel like is more of what 5 is. The 6 to me is more, I am slowing down to explain something that I probably take for granted. And yes, I'm moving through life very quickly, and I don't even think about how quickly I do this thing or if it's even valuable to people. But on the other end, I feel like you have slowed down to break apart what you know and explain it to me. So for example, I'm thinking about, let's say, a client who has a makeup company, and she may take for granted of like exactly how to know how to put the blush on and how to put the, eyeliner on or the eyeshadow or whatever. But the person in the community is so grateful that she will slow down and be like, okay, we're going to do a 20-minute video on how to apply this eyeshadow. That might sound ridiculous to me because I put the eyeshadow on in a minute, but I've been doing this eyeshadow for a long time, for many years. I'm a beauty expert, and you might be brand new in this department. So I am going to slow down from the level that I'm at and spend time conversing with you and showing you. So it's kind of like saying, my husband, for example, is a snowboarder, and he has been training Oliver to snowboard, and Oliver's obsessed, and he's learning from a bunch of different people, but mainly from his dad. And Benny, of course, tells me that he is enjoying teaching him and having so much fun teaching him. But at the same time, Benny says that there's days that they go snowboarding together and he just wants to go off on his own trails by himself. Like he'd love to take a break from going at the pace of Oliver and being able to go on the other trails, but he doesn't because he loves his son and he understands that he needs to learn it step by step by step by step. So he's definitely going much slower than he typically would go if he was snowboarding with a friend, right? So, and that's love. Oliver knows that like his dad is stopping, slowing down, teaching him step by step. That is love. And that creates some sort of loyalty and a connection in the community. So obviously if Oliver had many friends and Benny was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna make videos for you guys instead of teaching you one by one, that's cool too. And that's how you multiply the community. Obviously, it's taking these things that we're doing for one person and then finding ways to multiply it, to disseminate that information. And obviously that's what media is for. And that's what this feels like. The person's like, oh, you are taking time, you are slowing down and you're conversing with me. And with a lot of love, like you're not saying it from above your podium and down to the ground. Like you come down from the podium, you get down on your knees and you're like, okay, cool. Look, I'm going to slow down what I just did. I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be mindful of where you're at and I'm going to start from here. So that is another aspect of an engaged audience. For message number 7, I wanted to ask, cool, thank you, love this. How does it grow? Because we talked about the energy of it and kind of these different things that we do that actually attract the community to us. And I could feel the individual. I can see how it was bringing in people, but I wanted to know, how does that multiply? How does that grow? How do we go from 10 people to 10,000 people in our community, if that is what we're being called to, if that's what we want? And I was getting in this message number 7 that it is commitment. So it's basically like everything we shared, these messages that I shared, but knowing that this is my life. This is my lifestyle. This is what I signed up for. I'm committed to this person. I'm committed to this community. I'm committed to this group. And it's not commitment like, again, I'm the maid, I'm the Cinderella. It's commitment like, this is my life commitment. The same way that my children, like I have committed to them, right? Like I am committed to that I may have to catch myself every once in a while and be like, damn, I'm doing everything for them. I'm Cinderella, I'm packing their lunches. And that does not mean I'm committed. That might be, I'm going off to the side where I am in a place of like serving them in an unhealthy way. But overall, there's a commitment. There's a commitment to being like, okay, well, right now he's in middle school and packing lunches is what I used to do, but maybe now showing commitment would be teaching him how to pack his own lunch, maybe teaching him how to pack his own bag, but I'm still in it with him. I'm not just like, you know what, you're in middle school, figure it out, make your own lunch, I'm out, No, because I've made a commitment to this person's growth and a commitment to maybe this topic, right? Which to me is like mother, maybe like the topic is like being whatever mother it is that I want to be. And I am committed by showing up and being flexible, because as a leader, what worked for my son when he was in first grade is very different than what works for him now in sixth grade. And I have to adapt as my person is moving along, right? But there is a commitment to this cause, to this person. And really to me, that commitment comes from all these things that we talked about, doing it regularly, truly having it on a schedule, that to the point that you're not even thinking about it. The best community leaders are not even thinking about these steps. Like they are naturally doing it. It is naturally coming from them. They are not thinking that they need to post a story on Instagram and show their lunch. They are just like, of course I show my lunch. And it is not even part of their mind. Like it's just happening. It's a habit at this point. And that is how the community grows, because that is a sign of true commitment, like truly understanding that this is what my community needs after, this as a leader, because I've committed to this leadership position, these are the things that I need to do for these people. Like these are the things that I need to do to make sure this party keeps on and make sure that we keep growing and we keep gathering. Like these are just things that I do. So I'm not really thinking about it, or I don't have to even make a list of the stuff that I had to do, because it is so in me. It's not like I wake up every day and be like, what's on my checklist today? oh, yes, I have to make lunch for my kids. No, I wake up every day knowing I have to make breakfast, I have to pack lunches. It is in me, right? Because I am committed to this role already. I may have to stop and reflect every once in a while, depending on, this thing that I used to do or this lunch I used to make is not working for him anymore. So let me reflect on what he may need next. Let's talk about it. How can I help you? Oh, you want to make your own lunch? Okay, cool. You want to buy your own, you want to pick your own groceries? Get it. It would be awesome if you start buying it now. But cool. Okay, then we're going to shift into this next stage. So I might have to stop, reflect, have conversations to make sure I'm serving in the best way. But other than that, I mean, it's very automatic. And it seems from being automatic, really embodying this leadership position. And I think if I had to wrap this up in a red bow, it's truly being like, no doubt that I'm a leader. No doubt that I'm a leader in this community. No doubt that this is my role. No doubt that this is what God has called me to do. And I come from that place. So I feel like a lot of the movement you're making and the choices you're making and the steps that you're taking, they're not really in your head. They're coming almost like your heart is moving your body to do the things. Like you're not really having to stop to think about it. Of course, where you are right now, you may not be that leader. You may not really feel, you might have imposter syndrome, or you're thinking your community's too small or whatever that may be. So you're not like embodying the leader. So there's going to be a shift from where you are to where you're going. That shift to leadership is more of this place of like, I'm not doubting, I'm really not thinking, because I'm just automatically doing a lot of these things. So of course, from where you are to where you're going to have to start training your brain, starting to make those schedules, trying to, basically creating these habits of the things that we talked about today. And then ultimately they become second nature. It's kind of like you had to build the habit of taking your vitamins, but at this point, it's so easy. You make your protein shake, and right after your protein shake, you take your vitamins. You don't even think about it. And that's basically going to be the process of where you are to where you're going, that the things that a leader does has become habit to you. And that is how you become the leader of this engaged community. And at some point, it just keeps multiplying and multiplying. It's like, I always say, sometimes I'm like eating like my kids are eating like a bag of candy, and I'm like, this candy needs to stop. And I told them they can have 2 or 3 or something. And then all of a sudden I'm like, why is that candy multiplying? It's almost like they're having babies within the bag, And I'm like, it just seems like it's getting bigger, even though I know you just had like 2, but I feel like it's getting bigger. And that's really what we want the community to look like, right? We want the community it is multiplying within itself, right? Like it is creating babies, because there is so much momentum, and the momentum comes from the leader just being a well-oiled machine and knowing what it needs to do. And at that point, the community starts to multiply. I hope this episode was helpful, guys. I am so excited for the community that you are growing. I hope you took some notes and take some action from here. If there was one action I would do, is maybe look at the different messages, see which ones you want to put into play, and start to see if you can build habits around those messages and start shifting into that leader that God is calling you to be. I love you much, and I will see you in the next episode.